Brief history of radio. Samuel Morse invented the telegraph in 1842. By 1861, telegraph lines ran coast to coast in the U.S. The electrical revolution happened in the 1880s. In 1887, Heinrich Hertz discovered radio waves. He ran an electrical current from one coil to another wirelessly. 22-year-old Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi had a vision to put together several existing components. Marconi combined Edison's electrical power, Hertz's metal coil, and Morse's telegraph key with his own improvements, including grounding system and an antenna of his own design. The Italian government refused to patent this invention, so he went to England and was able to register his patent in 1896 for radio as a means of communication. Marconi brought his technology to the U.S. and set up American Marconi in 1899. David Sarnoff, Marconi's early employee, would go on to build the Radio Corporation of America, known as RCA. He envisioned broadcasting to reach a wide-range audience. Reginald Fessenden made the first wireless voice transmission in 1906 with a specific high-frequency generator that he designed to add voice to radio. Lee D. Forrest invented a tube called the Audon in 1907, which is known as a vacuum tube today. Many consider him the father of modern electronics. The Navy's America's first policy was made into law that forbid any foreign company from owning more than 25% of American broadcasting. Companies included AT&T, Westinghouse, General Electric, and RCA. Frank Conrad was one of the first commercial broadcasters. He started broadcasting phonographic records from his home. People wrote in to request specific songs, and soon he was broadcasting twice a week from 7 to 9 p.m. Frank also announced the presidential results on November 2nd of 1920 to the city of Pittsburgh that Warren G. Harding had defeated James Cox for president. Frank Conrad created KDKA, which was the first commercial radio station. AT&T announced that they will be selling toll broadcasting, where companies would finance the broadcast in exchange for being mentioned on air. The first credited toll broadcast was by New York's Weef on August 28th, advertising an apartment complex. However, radio stations have been thought to have been doing toll broadcasting before Weef. Selling advertising space on a regular program soon became the accepted means of supporting the medium. Networks arose through their affiliates. A network affiliate was a local station that was not owned by the network, but did have a contract agreement with the network. The development of networks could prove to be essential to the growth of radio. The first network was created in 1923. AT&T created this network to connect the stations in New York and Boston. Network radio helped unify the country by providing a type of common experience from coast to coast. William Paley bought CBS, and by the end of World War II, it became the leader of radio news. In 1940, the government forced RCA to sell one of its networks for fear that they would have too much power with both, NBC Red and Blue. NBC Blue became known as ABC. Early programming including dramas, comedies, soap operas, game shows, musicals, variety shows, talk shows, news, and sports most lasted from 15, 30, or 60 minutes. The Radio Act of 1912 required that all ships at sea leave their radios on 24 hours a day. The Radio Act of 1927 required broadcasters to operate in public interest, convenience, and necessity, meaning that they can't curse and keep the radio clean. The Communications Act of 1934 was the creation of the FCC, Federal Communications Commission. It's a government agency in charge of regulating all means of the interstate telephone and radio communication. Call letters are used to identify stations. They begin with a W if they're on the east coast of the Mississippi River, and K if it's on the west of the river. FM was created by modulating the speeds at which the waves travel. Edwin Armstrong was the first to demonstrate this in 1936. The golden age of radio was between the 1930s and the 40s, prior to television replacing it. It was considered the golden age because it had nation's best and most popular entertainment each week. In 1941, 6 million people listened to President Roosevelt's address to Congress following Pearl Harbor, which is still the largest audience ever in talk radio history. The transetter was invented in 1948. It was a smaller version of the vacuum tube, which made radios portable, the first being introduced in 1954. Format radio was created in 1949. This is the idea that the constant programming formula creates a recognizable sound and personality for a station. Top 40 is a type of formatting. Format radio led to the opportunities of women and ethnic minorities, such as all-women stations created in 1955. Today, digital radio has taken over the majority of stations of the analog radio stations. Digital radio is also able to display information on a small screen of the receiver, such as a channel title and performer of each piece of music.